Every day, around 3 million liters of sewage is emptied into this river, and only about half of that has undergone any kind of treatment. The river's waters are so dirty that it's considered one of the most polluted waterways in the world. But there's more than just sewage entering this river. Waste from tanneries, chemical plants, textile mills, slaughterhouses, and even hospitals is dumped untreated into it day after day. Flowing for just over 2,600 kilometers across northern India, the Ganges is more than just a river. For Hindus, it's the mother goddess Ganga herself, and a focus of religious devotion for tens of millions of people across the world. It's also a vital source of water and life for more than 40% of India's billion-plus population, and yet the river is being sullied by the very people who revere her. The river Ganges, however, is only one of a number of filthy rivers across the globe. It is estimated that globally 80% of domestic wastewater and raw sewage is dumped back into the water supply untreated, leaving no shortage of rivers marked polluted. And while it's difficult to accurately rank the most polluted rivers in the world, we can nevertheless point to 10 consistent entries. So at number 2, we have the Citarum River in Indonesia, undoubtedly one of the most polluted rivers in the world. This river, which is the main source of water for millions of people in the country, is heavily contaminated with industrial, agricultural waste, and some portions of the river are inundated by plastic items and other debris from human activities. Up to 200,000 households along the river still spill their wastewater directly into the river. The result is a river that is severely polluted with a wide range of toxic chemicals, heavy metals, and pesticides. Coming in at number 3 is the Yellow River in northern China, which has a long history of pollution. The Yellow River is an important water source for millions of people in China, but it's been heavily polluted due to years of industrialization, agricultural runoff, and the dumping of domestic waste into the river. And it has been declared dead on several occasions due to high levels of pollution and the lack of oxygen in the water. In the city of Zhejiang, one of the most polluted cities, it boasts a veritable forest of chemical and pharmaceutical factories, which are responsible for the surreal and terrifying sight of blood-red waste pumping into the river and turning it a hideous purple. At number 4 is the Yamuna River in northern India. In recent years, the quality of the water in the Yamuna River has become a major environmental and public health concern, and it's no longer safe for drinking, bathing, or even for agriculture. The severity of pollution in the Yamuna River has caused the Times of India to call it beyond redemption. Biochemical oxygen demand refers to the amount of oxygen required by living organisms to break down organic material, and once it reaches certain levels, it becomes a pollutant, giving rise to harmful bacteria. In Yamuna, these levels can be as high as 50 times the permissible level, putting millions of lives at risk. At number 5, we have the Mississippi River in the United States. This is the largest river system in the US, and it's a vital resource for the people and the environment of the region, and although it's one of the mightiest rivers, it's also one of the dirtiest. And like many rivers around the world, the Mississippi River has been subject to pollution from a variety of sources, with the most significant being agricultural runoff and untreated sewage. This runoff contains fertilizers and other chemicals that can contaminate the water, while untreated sewage contains bacteria, viruses, and other harmful contaminants. Vast stretches exceed recommended levels for mercury, PCBs, sediment, and other contaminants, making it hazardous to swim, fish, or use its waters for drinking. And worse still is the vast dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, which has been created by the sheer volumes of fertilizer and raw sewage pollution which flow from the river. At number 6, we move to the Sarno River in Italy. This river again has a long history of pollution, and it's considered one of the most polluted rivers in Europe. And although its upper reaches are virtually pristine, traveling its length reveals waters covered with oily scum and chemical foam. One of the main causes of pollution in the river is industrial discharges. The river flows through a region of Italy that is heavily industrialized, and many of the factories and other facilities in the area release their waste into the river. Many of the communities along the river do not have adequate sewage treatment, and their waste is often released directly into the river. Coming in at number 7 is the Marilao River in the Philippines. This river running through the Philippines suffers greatly from pollution loads, and the contamination comes from a variety of sources, notably precious metal refining, lead-acid battery recycling, jewelry making, and open dump sites. Problems stem from the fact that the river is used for aquaculture, with the fish bioaccumulating the toxins and passing them up the food chain, with significant risks of heavy metal poisoning. The Philippines is also home to the Pasig River, which takes our number 8 spot. The river, cutting through the heart of Manila, is subject to a variety of sources of pollution and problems connected with it. From untreated sewage, industrial waste, household waste, these problems started after World War II, when thousands flooded into Manila looking for work. Slums and industries sprang up, with untreated sewage released wholesale into the water. Along with unregulated discharge from factories, the accumulation of toxin has led to the river being biologically dead. At number 9, we have the Tiete River in Brazil, which is a major river that flows through the state of Sao Paulo. It is the longest river in the state, but its pollution dates back to the early 20th century. As the city grew and industrialized, the river became increasingly polluted due to raw sewage and industrial waste from the city. The river received so much sewage and factory discharges that by the 1990s it was declared dead. Toxic foam formed on the surface during dry months, giving rise to massive public outcry to improve treatment infrastructure, but even so, several million citizens still lack basic sewage. And finally, at number 10, we have the longest river in China and the third longest river in the world. The Yangtze River Basin is home to a large portion of China's population and is an important economic and agricultural region. This important river supplies 40% of China's fresh water and contributes 40% to the country's GDP. So these astounding facts make it even more alarming that it's so polluted, and being so big and covering such a big part of the country already somehow predisposes the river to pick up pollutants along the way. Poor solid waste management is a significant problem in China, with much of the garbage not being properly collected or disposed of. Almost half of the country's waste ends up in its waters, amounting to 25 billion tons, causing fisheries to go extinct, severe health problems, and thousands of dead pigs to end up on its beaches.